from the Indianapolis Colts, PA voice, who, gave us that nice assist the other day when we had no idea how to say Dayo Odeyingbo. Carm still doesn't know how to say it. But without JJ, we'd all be lost. So thankfully he's here, and he's going to tell us all about the Bears' new edge rusher. What's going on, JJ?
Hey, happy to help. I've done the media circuit, as our friend Kevin Fishbane immediately texted me. You ready for doing everything? So happy to be on your guys' show and talk a little bit of Dayo.
Well, I think we could go back to the Al-Qadim Muhammad days, and we could look back at all Bears Colts transitions. But this is going to be the best one, right, JJ? This is the answer to the Bears' problems.
I was going to say, you went Al-Qadim Muhammad and not the head coach.
Yeah, that one too. I forgot about that guy.
Might be something to
well, they were a
there.
pairing. Yeah. You couldn't get Flus without Al-Qadim Muhammad. It was all a pairing.
Yeah.
Well, JJ, appreciate you jumping on board. Obviously, it was great to see you at the Combine. But yeah, we're in a bit of a crisis here because Mark Carman hates Dayo, and so we're trying to get him to understand why he shouldn't hate Dayo Odeyingbo. So why don't you tell Mark Carman why he should be excited about Dayo Odeyingbo joining the Bears?
Okay, here's where I would start. His pass rushing numbers from last year were not where you would think a $16 million pass rusher would be. But the vast majority of teams the Colts played last year were able to get the ball out quick on a defense that allowed a lot of short completions underneath. And, it almost felt like that D line was, kind of pushing, pushing the boulder up the hill constantly, whatever this is, at Sisyphus. Getting my Greek metaphors mixed up here.
Love it.
I don't know, Greg. Is it Sisyphus?
Yeah, it is. It's Sisyphus.
Oh, thank gosh. Okay.
Right.
Yeah. So, Carm just got done with a case of Sisyphus.
Honey Bear's coming out hot today. JJ's very annoying.
Yeah, baby. Okay. Well, let me get back on track here because I derailed that myself. So even if Dayo was winning his pass rush moves, he wasn't getting pressure and he wasn't getting sacks because the ball's whizzing by his ear as soon as he beats the guy in front of him. So that's where I'm going to start. I mean, yeah, he had 8 sacks in 2023. I think that's probably closer to the production in terms of getting quarterbacks on the ground that you'll see from Dayo Odeyingbo. And he was a little streaky that year. He had 3 sacks in the first half of our game against New England when we played that over in Germany. And, they kind of come in spurts for him. But look, as a bigger defensive end, I know, I'm sure you guys have talked about that. That's kind of where Dennis Allen's bread and butter is in those kind of big, long, athletic defensive ends. Dayo Odeyingbo checks all those boxes. And he's still in his mid-20s. I think he still has got some upside. I think the Colts thought he still had some upside. Here in Indy, there are just more investments that needed to be made into the secondary of this defense rather than the D line that is full of first-round picks and guys on second and third contracts.
JJ, just for the record, I actually was the most excited about Dayo at the start because I watched 5 minutes of him on YouTube and I saw him play inside. I saw him play outside. I saw him with speed moves. I saw him with spin moves. I saw a bunch of stuff that you need some variance in your game, right, to get to the QB, and he has it. I also am doing the thought exercise of would you rather have, Dayo for $48 million and $32 guaranteed, or would you rather have Leonard Floyd on a 1-year deal who's been consistently productive for 6-7 years now? I don't know. Where would you come out on that if you're the Bears looking for
what does Leonard Floyd weigh? Where's he at now? Because I don't remember him being like a bigger guy.
No. I mean, he hasn't. I don't think his body composition has changed a whole lot. Maybe he's put on 10 pounds throughout his career, or something of that ilk. Maybe, I don't know. Is he coming in at 290 these days? Somewhere in there, 275. I'm guessing.
I always thought he was a little lighter than that. I mean, I've pushed a lot of that out of my memory.
But that's kind of the point, JJ, is he's talking about Leonard Floyd. Earlier in the week, we were arguing about whether or not they should have traded for Trey Hendrickson rather than go the Dayo Odeyingbo and Grady Jarrett route, where now you're putting all your resources into one guy that has been one of the top sack leaders in the NFL for the last couple of years. So that's kind of the point, is obviously enough about the Chicago Bears, been here long enough with what they've added to the defensive line, with what they already have. Do they still have to address somebody that can actually get to the quarterback, or can there be some promise that a combination of Montez Sweat and Dayo Odeyingbo can actually get that job done for Bears fans.
Yeah, I mean, I think specifically with Dayo Odeyingbo, if you're betting on him having upside because he's a second contract guy, former second round pick, you could definitely talk yourself into, without a lot of effort, that you're going to get more production out of Dayo Odeyingbo in Chicago than he had in Indianapolis. And, you look back at his career, that first season was, he played, I think, 10 games. It was kind of a wash. He was coming off a torn Achilles he had prior to the Senior Bowl. The Colts still took him in the second round because they believed in the upside and they believed in the talent. And, I think, again, here in Indy, that, we would have liked to keep him around, but that money had to go elsewhere. So, it's the old question of, well, why is the guy a free agent? To me, it's pretty cut and dry with Dayo Odeyingbo. You've got first-round picks, Laiatu Latu, Kwity Paye. You got Samson Ebukam on a sizable contract. And then on the interior, you're paying DeForest Buckner and Grover Stewart market rate for being a really good defensive tackle tandem. So there probably wasn't that room to keep Dayo around, as opposed to that money's got to go toward, some of the guys in the secondary.
So, by the way, Dayo 46 pounds heavier than Leonard Floyd.
Yeah, that's kind of what I thought. Yeah.
Yeah, and 3 inches taller and longer. So he just definitely fits the bigger, longer defensive ends that Dennis Allen likes to employ. So I get the fit, and I also understand exactly what you just said. I mean, if you got guys ready to go, you're not gonna pay a guy $16 million a year. So I guess you seem pretty bullish though that it might work out for him in Chicago.
I mean, here's where like expectations have to be set in the proper manner here. It's not like I'm sitting here going on your guy's show saying like he's definitely gonna be a 10-sack guy. Greg brings up, Trey Hendrickson. Guy's got 35 sacks in the last 2 years. I don't think you're expecting Dayo Odeyingbo to hit those numbers. But look, if you're looking for good production, guy's gonna get after the quarterback a little bit. A guy's gonna play the run pretty well. Opposite Montez Sweat, I would feel pretty good about that if I'm the Bears. I don't know where the depth stands behind those guys, but Dayo's versatility definitely matters here. He has been very durable since his rookie year. So, he's not a guy who's going to miss a lot of time. I think you can kind of know what to expect out of him. And the market rate for defensive ends based on the salary cap has gone up pretty significantly. And I think the expectation that I kept seeing coming into free agency is that Dayo would get about what he got from the Bears. So none of it really surprised me. It makes a lot of sense to me. If you're expecting, again, Dayo to be a top 5 pass rusher, oh my God, we just got Khalil Mack 2.0. Like you're probably not going to get that. But I think you're going to get a good player who can be a good piece of a good defense.
Well, I think what Bears fans are concerned about is that he'll be DeMarcus Walker 2.0, who is billed as somebody that could be a rotational guy that could play on the edge, play on the inside. And they cut DeMarcus Walker. It was one of the first moves here made in the Ben Johnson era. And then they bring in a guy who a lot of Bears fans are trying to compare. And maybe that's an unfair comparison, but that's kind of where I think Bears fans' minds are at. Like, he's got to be better than DeMarcus Walker, or else why did we just cut him and then pay this guy more?
Yeah, I'll be honest, I couldn't tell you a single thing about DeMarcus Walker.
Sure.
How many sacks did he have last year? I truly have no idea.
3.5.
Okay.
3.5, yeah.
I think you'll get more out of Dayo than that.
Yeah.
And again,
well, and how much, just to that point, how much do you think he'll play? Obviously, he's the quintessential Dennis Allen guy on the edge, but how much do you think in certain packages he might be able to be bumped inside? Javon Dexter, I think, might have some versatility potentially in this defense to bump to the outside. So how much, I know he played a little bit inside in Indianapolis. Yeah. How do you think he did there? And do you think that that's something the Bears can use in different situational moments?
I think some of his better rushes came from the inside. You kind of turn on some of the tape, especially from that 23 season. And he had quite a few impactful moments when they kicked him inside to be a 3-tech. So that's absolutely something that, as you kind of get to know him and get to be a little bit more creative, he definitely has that skill set. He certainly has the body type to be able to do it, to kind of walk a guard back into a quarterback if that's what you need him to do. that is a selling point to me for Dayo Odeyingbo.
So to wrap this up here, two things, JJ. Number one, what's he like as a guy? What will you miss most outside of just saying his name? Because that's got to be a blow for a PA announcer to lose that guy in your arsenal.
You get it, Mark. That is one of my favorite names to say over the PA, Dayo Odeyingbo. He's a good dude. Really nice guy, really respectful with his time. I can tell you he takes care of his body really well. He actually went to yoga at the same gym I go to, so I'd see him at 7 a.m. every Tuesday, every Friday. He's walking in while I'm walking out from my 6 a.m. workouts that I still do. Kind of
look at you. Flex that 6 a.m. Flex that.
I'm trying not to yawn, but I have been up since 6 a.m. 5:30 actually. But yeah, no, he's very meticulous in his routine. He's gonna stay on the field. He's gonna be healthy as best as he can. And, a guy who I think is a really good, solid locker room presence there.
All right. And
what a flex. I am jealous.
That was awesome.
Every day I'm like, I'm going to wake up at 6 and knock some of the stuff out early. No.
So the key is to just pay a little more than you're comfortable with for the gym, because then you're like, well, I got to use it. Of course I'm going to wake up. I got 6 hours of sleep last night, but otherwise I'm throwing that money away. So you got to have the maybe a little more of a financial stake in it than you would have thought.
Well, JJ, I've been getting significantly fatter every day since the Hail Mary.
Greg, you have Washington. No cartilage left in your knees. I mean, come on, dude.
Hey, JJ, we pulled a couple quotes to wrap this conversation up. I know Ho's got one more question for you, but I just wanted to just to give a perspective on both ends here. Here's Ben Solak from ESPN, who didn't love it. Admirable approach, but tunnel vision is often a detriment in March, and that's what happened here with Odeyingbo. It's an ascending player in the sense that he puts the pieces together over the past 2 seasons with the Colts and could have a larger net impact in a role that doesn't force him to split time. But he is an average defensive end 2, playing opposite an average DE1 in Montez Sweat. The likelihood that he suddenly rises to pass rushing level that warrants $16 million per year is pretty low. That's Ben Solak. And then on Dayo. And then on the other side, from Honey Bear, Dayo Odeyingbo is the perfect signing at the perfect time. He will lift the Bears defense to new heights, and the Bears will win the Super Bowl from Honey Bear. So there's, it's just
on the Indianapolis field there too.
I was going to say, I recognize that.
Yeah. That's where I got my takes of Dayo, was at the Indianapolis facilities.
Yeah. So I guess here's where I would go on Dayo is that there's always a place on an NFL roster for a good player, even if you're paying him maybe a little bit more than the value may say. There's always a place for a good player on an NFL roster, and Dayo Odeyingbo is a good football player. He's gonna, he'll set the edge against the run. He'll be reliable. Again, the durability, I think, sometimes gets a little bit lost in these discussions. That that factor really does matter to teams when they're going out and they're extending this kind of money. So I didn't have a huge problem with it. Now, I don't know the rest of the Bears roster as well as you guys do, or certainly, as well as Ben Solak, who, come from a national perspective. But I can just tell you about Dayo that he's a good player who's going to work hard. He's going to be available, and that does count for a lot in my book.
Yeah. All right. Real quick on the way out, I got to ask you about Daniel Jones.
Yeah.
Joining the Colts. What were your thoughts on that? How do you see this thing playing out? Because it's a big year for the GM and the head coach down there in Indy.
Can't say I'm surprised. I think when Chris Ballard said it would be an open competition at the NFL Combine a couple of weeks ago, the signs always kind of pointed to Daniel Jones. I think maybe there were, a couple other guys' names got thrown around on kind of maybe the higher end or the lower end, but Daniel Jones kind of threading that needle of you got to bring a guy in who can compete, but ultimately, look, if Anthony Richardson wins this job because you brought in Daniel Jones and he's kind of sparked by it, that's a good outcome for this team. The other good outcome is that you got Shane Steichen with Daniel Jones. You run an offense that, maybe is just like heavy RPO. It's kind of maybe a souped up version of what you did with Gardner Minshew 2 years ago, and that almost got the Colts to the playoffs. So I think there are good reasons to think that this could work out however it shakes out. But I think ultimately, look, if Anthony Richardson starts and he is an improved player from where he's been over the last 2 years, that is that is a really, really good outcome for this football team, regardless of how the Colts get there.
All right, our guy JJ Stankevitz, we miss him, but we love that he's only a few hours down the road. Good to see you in India a couple weeks ago, buddy.
Always good seeing you guys.
Yeah, and tell Blue that anytime he wants to take a run, come on up to Chicago and I'll kick his ass any day.
No, you won't. You could not. No shot could you kick Blue's ass. I don't care how intact your ACLs are. You're not kicking Blue's ass. He is kicking your ass.
Damn right. And
he is a violent mascot. I will give him that.
Yes, he is.
Yes.
That's his bit, man. I love it. I'm hashtag Team Blue.
In the face by him twice.
Yeah. JJ's actually taking a pie in them. Oh, can we organize that next year in Indian? Mid-show, Blue comes up and pies Braggs.
I'll work on it.
I would love that.
I'll work on it. Yeah, actually, I will absolutely work on that.
I
won't tell you what day it's going to be.
There we go.
It's got to be a surprise.
Yeah.
Had to open my big mouth. All right, JJ.
See you, JJ.
All right, later, guys.
See you, JJ.
Love talking to JJ. Great information there on Dayo Odeyingbo.
We all silly like the mayor.